12:09 tip this week, CBS, against the Florida Gators. Coach Muschamp making a decision.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. Got the Gators here at noon at Williams-Brice. We need to have an early crowd and a loud and proud crowd. I know our guys are excited for this next 3 games at home and looking forward to getting back to Williams-Brice. Obviously, Florida's been through a lot of adversity this year, through some suspensions to start the year, some critical injuries that they've had throughout the year, and obviously losing the head football coach. So I know it's probably taken its mental toll, but they still got a lot of good players and some talented guys on the football team, and some guys obviously we're very familiar with. And offensively, Malik Zaire is a guy that has played a lot of football at Notre Dame. He's got arm talent. He's a really good athlete. Got the start last week, and certainly see him starting again this week. Felipe Franks is a young man that I know extremely well. He's got arm talent. He's the touchdown pass against Tennessee, he's fallen back and throws it over 70 yards down the field. So he's a guy that's got Sunday arm talent as far as those things are concerned. Really talented backs in Thompson and P. Ryan that run extremely hard. And offensive line that pushed us around last year. Same guys are back. A very talented, big, athletic offensive line. Really good skill people in Cleveland, and BP, Brandon Powell, and Josh Hammond, and some guys outside, Freddie Swain. Dre Massey's a young man from the state of South Carolina that can really run, and the tight end Ciante and Morrill Stevens and DeAndre Goolsby are all back, and all guys they utilize well in the passing game. So, got some skilled guys offensively, defensively, just fast and athletic. Jumps out at you. Taven Bryan, the inside player they've got's a very disruptive player, a guy that we've got to account for in the run game and the pass game, and he can wreck your day. I mean, he is a really good football player. Probably played as fine a game inside against Texas A&M that I've seen in this league in a while. Duke Dawson's a guy on the back end that plays extremely well, can play safety, corner, nickel, got man and zone instincts, makes a lot of plays on the ball. Dangerous guy there. And then you got 2 freshman corners playing really at a high level, Marco Wilson and C.J. Henderson. And I think C.J.'s got 3 or 4 interceptions on the year, and he's having a really good year for it. Chauncey Gardner does a nice job. C.C. Jefferson, Zaninga's a guy on the edge. Is an issue you've got to account for in the pass rush, and Kerry Clark does a nice job inside. So they got a talented defense. They've had some really tough injuries on defense. You lose Marcel Harris before the year starts, and a leader for them, and an outstanding player, had an outstanding year a year ago, and then Nick Washington they lost this year is a leader for them, as well as Jordan Sheridan, also off a defense that lost about 7 guys drafted in the NFL. So they've taken some hits there. Specialist, really good. Eddie Pinero's a guy that's got a big leg. When they cross the 50, he's in range. He's kicked most of their kickoffs out of the end zone this year. And Johnny Townsend's averaging right at 50 yards a kick, and a fantastic athlete in person. So good people in the return game as well. So we got to be able to cover down and spread the field and tackle in space and against this team. And injury-wise for us, Taylor Stallworth right now to me would be the only person that I would say would be questionable. We did have some guys that didn't take many reps today or some at all, but we fully expect them to be back tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday, and be ready for the game on Saturday. So Taylor's the only guy in my mind right now that would be questionable, and I'll open up for any questions.
Well, you mentioned Taylor. If he can't go, who do you like in his spot, one guy or a rotation of guys?
Kier's has been playing inside a bunch, but Javon, Kier, Kobe Smith's done a nice job for us. Uric Jones continues to play well inside for us. Dante's a guy that can slide inside as well.
What has Javon Kinlaw's development meant for this defense?
Oh, it's been huge for us. I mean, just a very difficult guy to block inside. He's a space eater. He eats 2 blocks, and we coach front a little differently than a lot of teams do as far as how we play, and from a standpoint of understanding that what we call a twofer is taking 2 blocks is really important to keep our linebackers clean and free. Most of the teams that do play the run well, that's the way they play. And you watch Georgia and you watch Alabama and you watch Auburn that's the way we play. And so those are things that sometimes take a little time for a guy to learn. We still want the guys to be vertical. We still want guys to be disruptive. But we also understand about playing blocks, and that's hard for young players especially to understand that part of it, and to hang on to a block that eats 2 blocks that keeps a linebacker free, to understand about the gap integrity that you got to be able to have defensively. And that's something that he's made tremendous strides with. And as much as anything, I was walking in the building with him this morning. He's right at 300. He's down about 40 pounds from when he stepped on campus. He's in better shape. He looked at me and said, I can play more than 45 snaps. And I said, well, we need you to, especially if Taylor's not going to be able to go this week. So, but I've been really proud of him and how he's approached things, his work ethic. He's just a delight to have around.
Let's go back through Mike.
Coach, you obviously recruited a lot of these guys and coached a lot of these guys. I'm wondering what kind of advantage that can give you going into a game like this, kind of knowing their skills.
It might be a disadvantage. I know they're pretty good. So, you know, Taven Bryan can give you a bad day. He's a really good player, and Duke Dawson. I mean, I know a lot of these guys. I don't know there's an advantage or disadvantage in any of that. And they're all good young men. They're prideful guys, and you know, we need to play extremely well Saturday.
Will, you know how good Florida can still be despite what they've gone through. 18 to 22-year-olds might not see it the same way. Do you take steps this week to make sure they know how dangerous Florida can still be?
No doubt. I talked to our guys Monday about you know, don't be fooled by the tape from the last 2 weeks. Let's go back and watch Tennessee. Let's go back and watch LSU. Let's go back and watch A&M. Let's go back and watch those game tapes. They've had a lot of uncertainty off the field, and certainly it's you know, having been through it, it is a distraction, and it will take its mental toll on you. So, you know, we need to. But again, that's why the consistent message from me all the time is about our preparation and how we prepare, and how we go about our business, and our preparation for the game is going to determine the outcome of the game, not about what the other team does. And certainly we respect our opponents. Their players, their schemes, and things like that. But it's about our preparation is the most important thing, and that's why it's always the consistent message. So you shouldn't have a lot of variance in how you play.
Obviously has nothing to do with Saturday, but now knowing that Debo is going to be back next year, what does it mean long term for you guys?
Oh yeah, I should have. Now is the time and place. I knew it Sunday night, but I didn't want to. Well, no. I didn't say no. You know, that's the young man's announcement and his family. That's not my announcement, you know. And I talked to his mom and he and his family, and I just have always felt like that's the young man's announcement. That's their decision, not mine. And obviously we're excited. I think it says a lot about our program to have a guy like Bryson Allen Williams and Deebo Samuel and guys that are excited about coming back to South Carolina. They see what we're building. They see what's happening. They see the support that we have, and they want to be Gamecocks, and that's exciting. And Deebo's, well, he's excited. I mean, I told him he's excited about coming back, the opportunity to be back, the prospects of moving forward, and I mean all the things. It's an exciting time here at the University of South Carolina.
Kind of going off that, you've talked a lot about the next man up philosophy. This team has lost, you know, 3, maybe 4, you know, relatively key parts for season-ending injuries, and has kind of kept on trucking. Is there a level of pride, sort of, in seeing the way that the team has kind of gone on and sort of lived that next man up mentality almost? Absolutely.
I think in life, every day you either make progress or excuses, and we don't make excuses around here. And regardless of who or what or the situation or circumstance, we need to make progress, and that's what we're trying to do. And I think our guys have bought into that mentality and understand that when your number's called, we need your best when your best is needed.
Coach, when do you teach your defensive backs to kind of maybe go for an interception or kind of play back and make a tackle as to like not get burned? Is there try to find a good balance there? How do you kind of teach that to your defensive backs?
Well, I always talk in terms of playing the ball what I would call in phase. And generally, if you can touch the receiver, then you're in phase. Whether you're running with the receiver down the field and the receiver's on my hip, and if I can feel the receiver, then I want to turn and play the ball. You know, I want to be able to do that. If I'm not in phase with the receiver, it means I can't touch the receiver. You know, the quarterback's not throwing it to me; he's throwing it to him. So the worst thing I can do is read back, create more separation in the down, and watch him complete the pass, because that's what's going to happen. So if we're in phase with the receiver, which means we can touch the receiver, we want to make a play on the ball. If we're not, then we need to play through the eyes and the hands of a receiver. We need to get the elbow down. We need to get something down in the down to create some disruption for him trying to catch the ball. But we always talk in terms of in phase with the receiver. If you can touch the receiver, we want to play the ball. If you're not, then you need to play through the eyes and hands of the receiver to get the ball down. Now, it's really simple for me and you to sit here and talk about it. It's different when you guys running 4-4 down the sideline and you're chasing. And then you've got to have poise with your back to the ball, because a lot of times when you are in a bump and run situation, your back is to the ball. And you've got to understand, do you want to look and lean and press the receiver, because the hardest deep ball to play is the underthrown deep ball. And when I worked with Jimbo Fisher, he coached the underthrown deep ball for those reasons. And you go back to I want to say it was 1993, Auburn beat Alabama in Auburn, and it was an underthrown deep ball from Patrick Nix to Frank Sanders. If you ever want to go look, I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere. But those are things to me that are the hardest thing to play, is the underthrown deep ball when you want to press the receiver. Now you have all these teams, including ours, that throw these back shoulder fades. We make it even more so. So if you do work in phase to go play the ball and they throw a back shoulder fade, everyone in the stands are going, what in the world are they teaching these kids to do, you know? So you've got to now feel if he's falling back with his inside shoulder, and you've got to play out of phase through the receiver. So, but we work a lot with our back to the ball, and we try and drill a lot of those things, obviously, throughout every week in playing, in terms of playing the ball and when not to play the ball.
Coach, defensively, especially in the third quarter, it seems like the adjustments you guys make have helped out a lot, especially not giving up too many points. But with a game like this, with all the changes that have gone over there with the coaching and kind of playing musical chairs with the quarterback, how key will it be just to be able to adjust on the fly, and especially in the second half?
Well, I think that both quarterbacks are very similar as far as their skill set. Both have arm talent. They both can throw the ball. They both are good athletes. I mean, Felipe ran a 60-yard run against A&M on a quarterback draw, and I know they run well on defense. They had a hard time catching him. So, you know, I don't know they're going to have a whole new one plan for one plan for another. They're similar to what they do when both guys are in the game, and we need to have recognition, obviously, of who is in the game at the time. But there's only so much you can change in a week or two's time as far as who you are and what you're doing. And obviously there'll be some new things, and I think they do a good job each week of giving you some things you need to adjust to in the game, whether it's in the run game or the pass concepts or a motion or a shift or a formation. And we need to be able to quickly adjust to those.
Will, looking at Zaire, he obviously started last week, played that game, but that's been his only game at Florida. Have you guys looked at any of his Notre Dame film?
We've gone back and looked at it. We did that this summer. And, again, a guy that's played a lot of football, we're not going to show him anything he hasn't seen before. And we're going to need to play well.
What did your performance against Georgia do from a litmus test standpoint to kind of show where your team is in relation to the rest of the conference?
Well, we didn't win the game, and that's the bottom line. That's what you go to do. And, again, like I said, when the game was over, I was extremely proud of our guys' effort. We challenged a really good football team, and we didn't get the results that we wanted. And that's, I don't know, whether you lose by 14 or 10 or 21, it doesn't really matter. You lost the game, and you didn't do the things you need to do to win the game. And that's when you go back and you look at a game like that and you say, in all ball games, whether you kick a last-second field goal to win it or you lose by 14, there's 6, 8 plays in the game that probably determine the outcome of the game. The tricky part is you never know when those 6 or 8 are going to come. So we've got to make a play on a 50-50 ball on offense or on defense. We've got to make a tackle in the hole. We've got to leverage the runner the right way. I mean, there's so many lessons to be learned, whether it's a win or a loss, for your football team each week, and that's why we try and be real technical in our approach as far as the things we need to do.
Will, how's Casey Crosby's recovery coming? Is there any chance he'll be back this season?
Good. I think for a bowl game possibly. I don't want to speak too far out because I'm not totally certain, and I haven't been told that, but just to see him moving around a little bit, I could foresee that. I'm no doctor, but I'm just guessing there.
In terms of your personal connection to Florida, did all that kind of go out the window last year, the first game you played them, or will you always have something a little different there until all the kids you recruited are gone?
No, I always will have an affection for Florida. I had a wonderful experience there, regardless of how things ended. I don't look at things that way. I had a great opportunity. It's a wonderful university. They've got a lot of great people there, and I have the same feelings at LSU and Texas and Auburn and everywhere else I've worked, and so that won't change.
Coach, knowing that there were just a few plays that needed to be made against Georgia, how much more confidence does this team have now going into this game, knowing that they can play with some of the best in the country?
Well, I don't know that confidence has been an issue for our football team. I think that at the end of the day, we've We've got a confident group that has trust and belief in each other. They have trust and belief in the staff and the things that we're doing within our organization. And, you know, I think our guys have a pretty good understanding that every week is a season, and you've got to invest each week to get the result that you want on game day. And the rest of this week, we need to continue to have a great week to prepare for Florida.
After you reviewed the tape of Georgia, how did you kind of feel about how the secondary performed, and what did you kind of see there?
Well, I didn't think we played very well. I think that we had some opportunities to get some balls down. I don't think we challenged guys well enough down the field. You know, we had a 50-50 ball for two 50-50 balls for touchdowns where we got to get the ball on the ground. We did not tackle extremely well. We didn't support the run very well. We got loose on some quick screens and some edges of the defense we didn't support very well. So we've got to continue to improve there.
Coach, this is a team that looks a lot different. This Florida team looks a lot different than even a month and a half ago. I'm wondering, since you know a lot of these guys, when you turn on the tape, do you think, you know, some of the announcers were saying on Saturday that it looks like some of these players have kind of given up since McElwain left. Do you see that on tape, and how much do you think that can affect an offense or defense?
You know, I told our football team I wouldn't get sold on what you saw against Georgia and Missouri. I think at the end of the day, we're going to see a very highly motivated football team coming in here, and we need to prepare well, and we need to play well on Saturday to give ourselves an opportunity to win the game.
Is Alexander Wozniak healthy, and is he an option to replace Parker White at any point? How is that going?
Yeah, I mean, we still, you know, obviously he's healthy and have a competition, and, you know, it's no different than any other position. If he outperforms somebody in practice, we're going to try the other guy. But that's, you know, at the end of the day, we've got to continue to have confidence in Parker and what he's doing, and right now he's kicking the ball better.
You mentioned that Florida's offensive line pushed around your defensive line last year. Is that something that you brought up to them? And just from a more broad perspective, how do you feel like your defensive line has improved over the course of the year?
Oh, I think we've improved tremendously. I think you watch even from last year to now and from the beginning of the season, and now we're playing blocks much better. We're playing much more square on the line of scrimmage. We're playing with a better pad level. Offensive lines are not getting as much push as they have at times this season, and certainly from last year we've made leaps and bounds progress. So, but no, I think that our guys know we got pushed around last year. They ran the ball at will last year against us. So, and it's the same offensive lines, the same backs, the same run schemes. So our guys understand that.
Obviously, in the moment, you're thinking very much about next game this season, but do you ever allow yourself to think a little bit about what it will mean next year to get Arico, Adebo, Bryce Allen, and Casey all kind of back, reinforcing this group?
Well, certainly. I mean, those guys are all really good football players, and the guys that have replaced them, their experience is going to be invaluable again moving forward. So, but I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about it. No, I appreciate you bringing it up, though.
China in the middle.
Will, Sky was around TJ last year, but he obviously wasn't on the field with him. Now that they are on the field together, how important do you feel Sky has been to TJ and his progression and his potential moving forward after Sky leaves?
I think Sky has positively affected everybody around him from a standpoint of a guy that, you know, when you're playing with a really good player, I think it gives you confidence in what you do. And you know the expectation he's going to play at a high level. And it allows you to feel confidence in your job, knowing the guy you're lined up next to you is going to play at a high level. But he's very, you know, Sky's a very smart player, very instinctive, and I think he's positively rubbed off on a lot of guys defensively for us this year.
With Taylor not practicing, how important is it for a guy like Akir Thomas to continue to get those reps inside and to be multiple, as I'm sure you stress with a lot of different guys?
Well, he's done that all year for us. He's played in every game, inside and outside. But Akir's really smart. He can handle that. It takes somebody that can handle a lot of variables and moving parts to be able to do that. because we ask, obviously very similar technique-wise, whether you're playing a 3 technique head up the guard or, head up the tackles, a 5 technique or something like that. So it's very similar from a technique standpoint, but based on the defense called, there's different details to the job that you have to do, and he understands those things. So, but he's repped inside all year, so I don't know that it's a huge adjustment for him, and we expect Taylor back tomorrow.
Coach Brian Edwards, obviously a huge touchdown catch on Saturday. I'm wondering what you've seen from him, especially from last year to this year and through the year.
Probably as much as anything, just confidence. First of all, Brian was not very healthy when we first got him. He had a knee coming out of Conway there and was coming off surgery, I believe, 1st of December maybe, or maybe end of November. But, going in that first spring, being mid-year, he's gotten so much stronger in the weight room. He's a very hard guy to cover because he can bend you around. At the top of routes, he's really strong in his lower and upper body. But he catches the ball extremely well. He's fearless. He goes across the middle and he'll make the tough catches. But he's got vertical speed down the field. He's just a hard matchup. He's a very difficult matchup. But, again, Brian's a delight. He's always got a smile on his face. He's always working extremely hard. Whatever you ask him to do, whether it be special teams or anything, he's willing to do anything to help the team. So he's a consummate teammate, and I'm glad he's a Gamecock.
Questions for Coach?
All right, have a great day.